The rain fell in relentless sheets against the windows as Eric unlocked the door to Fairview High. He was the last one there, part of a dare orchestrated by his so-called friends. Spending the night in the school's basement, legendary for its ghost stories, was supposed to prove he wasn't a coward. He clicked on his flashlight and descended the creaking stairs. The air grew colder with every step, thick with the scent of mildew and something faintly metallic. At the bottom, the beam of his flashlight revealed rows of abandoned desks, old lockers, and forgotten relics of a bygone era. The basement felt alive, like it had been waiting for him. Eric set up camp near an old boiler that hissed occasionally, its pipes winding like the veins of the building. The stories of the basement flickered through his mind. The janitor who had vanished without a trace, the girl who had fallen through a broken floorboard during construction and was never found. Students whispered about hearing her crying on quiet nights. He scoffed. "Just stories," he muttered. But his voice echoed unnaturally, bouncing back distorted. Hours passed in eerie silence. Then a soft scraping sound came from the far corner. Eric froze, flashlight trembling in his hand. The beam landed on a row of lockers. One of the doors was slightly ajar, rocking slowly as if moved by an unseen hand. "Hello?" he called out, his voice cracking. No response. He told himself it was just the wind sneaking through some crack in the walls. Then he heard it, a faint, almost imperceptible giggle, high-pitched and childlike. It came from behind him. Spinning around, Eric's flashlight flickered, its beam catching glimpses of movement, something darting just out of sight. "Who's there?" he demanded, his voice more forceful this time. The giggle came again, now closer, followed by a whisper. He couldn't make out the words, but the tone was chilling, taunting, malevolent. Eric's legs felt like lead as he backed toward the stairs. But when he reached them, his heart dropped. The stairs were gone, or rather they weren't where they'd been. The walls seemed to have shifted, the space around him warping in impossible ways. A faint tapping echoed from all directions. He spun around wildly, the flashlight barely cutting through the oppressive darkness. And then he saw her. At the far end of the basement, a girl stood. She was no older than 10, her hair tangled and wet as if she'd just crawled out of a well. Her eyes, they were wrong. Empty sockets stared back at him, black as the void. "Help me," she said, her voice brittle and echoing like a forgotten memory. Eric stepped back, heart hammering in his chest. The girl began to walk toward him, her bare feet leaving wet footprints on the dusty floor. But the footprints didn't fade. They glistened, red and thick, like fresh blood. No, this isn't real," Eric whispered, backing into a wall. The girl stopped a few feet away, her head tilted unnaturally to the side, and a cruel smile spread across her pale face. "You shouldn't have come here," she hissed. The lights overhead flickered to life for a split second, revealing more figures in the shadows. Dozens of them. Children, teachers, a janitor, all with the same hollow eyes, their faces twisted in torment. They reached for him, their whispers overlapping into a deafening cacophony. Eric screamed as the flashlight slipped from his hand and clattered to the floor. The bulb shattered, plunging him into darkness. The whispers stopped. Silence swallowed the room. When the morning janitor arrived, the basement door was ajar. Eric's belongings sat untouched near the boiler, but Eric was gone. On the dusty floor, a single wet footprint led to the stairs. Some say you can still hear his voice down there calling for help, begging to be let out. But no one dares to stay long enough to listen.